Well, the abandoned French submarine deal continues to haunt the government, as we've seen over the last couple of days. Scott Morrison was at Glasgow, COP26, a major international discussion on climate change. And what was he talking about? He was talking about the French and submarines. Now, the Prime Minister said it would be best now for both sides to move on. But as Jonathan Lee reports, the French are showing no sign of doing that. Joining me live now is Australian Strategic Policy Institute, the boss there, Peter Jennings. Good to see you, Peter Jennings. First, let's get back to these submarines. I mean, there are not questions being asked to the French here about whether they were holding up their end of the bargain anyway, were they?
Well, there's going to be endless disputes on that. What's very clear is that the Australian government has had for years now concerns about the design, finalising the design of the attack class submarine, which went well beyond issues to do with domestic involvement and actually to the capabilities of the submarine, what it could do. I noticed in walking from the contract, which of course our government was entitled to do, they said, the attack class was going to be a brilliant conventional boat. I think in part that was an attempt to reduce some of the sting towards the French. We may never know, at least until records are declassified years from now, whether that was actually the case, whether or not that boat was going to deliver the superior capability that it was advertised as. But it was a difficult contract. And it's been said by a lot of people, frankly, that by the time it got to the end, it had virtually no friends in Canberra, unfortunately. And that was why Scott Morrison probably a year ago started to ask about was there a plan B? I certainly didn't expect that would include nuclear propulsion, but that when that became an offer, it seems to me that any Australian Prime Minister would have to take that.
Could the French have delivered us nuclear subs?
I think one of the great puzzles for the French, Laura, is that we never asked them about that nuclear capability, because I know for a fact the French were expecting that to happen. And indeed, had we been brave enough to think about that back in 2016, maybe by now we would be some way down the track to designing that capability. However, it's an option that is clearly now off the table. I don't think the French will welcome us back with any request for that sort of capability now. And one for the history books, but why didn't we ask back in 2016?
Indeed. Peter Jennings, to the best of your knowledge and, knowing what we know publicly, what has happened here between the French and Australia? The argument that the French could have been told in any delicate way that they would have been happy with. Do you buy that?
No, I don't. Look, I think all along, Laura, there's been a misperception between the two countries. The French thought that they were offering us a new strategic relationship. They thought they were taking a massive step to let us into some of their most secret areas of military capability. And we thought we were just getting a contract. We were interested in specification and time and cost, the way we do things normally inside defence. And so there was a mismatch of expectation. And then I think as our government started to walk away from it, clearly those signals were evident. We were all reading about it in the newspapers. But a particular sting for the French was that not 2 weeks before the actual announcement of AUKUS, our foreign and defence ministers were meeting with their French counterparts and thanking each other for all the good work that was being done on the submarine project. So, I mean, I don't know that could have been done any more elegantly. It would have been really good if Scott Morrison had had that conversation with Emmanuel Macron, and it seems that Macron was reluctant to take a call. But at the end of it, clearly the French are going to be annoyed. I think what's going to work best for the both of us now is we try to get over it. There have been times when we've not been happy with French policy in the past, I can tell you. And we should now focus on the things that we can cooperate on together. That's the best solution, I think, for both.
Well, in the land of diplomacy, how does the leaking of text messages usually go down?
It doesn't, and I'm reminded of that old comedy joke, stop it or you'll go blind. I mean, what we need from all of our national leaders now is just stop it, stop the recriminations. Macron's publicly calling Scott Morrison a liar to the world's media in Glasgow is also not the act of a head of state. And I just think now, yes, I appreciate their annoyance. Australia does have some atoning to do, but France is not the purest of the pure in terms of its international policy behaviour over the years. So let's just, for goodness sake, let's stop and actually start to think about what can we do together that's more positive.
That's a good place to leave it. Peter Jennings, thanks so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Laura.